talk.
With a focus on short analysis. A corporate transaction society inevitably suffers from dissatisfaction and fracturing among the population.
I'm cutting you off there, Charles. That's your third conviction today. People will start to worry.
And chemical plant on Praetor, occupied early in the corporate incursion of that inhospitable Elysium moon, ostensibly.
Welcome to the CAF integration point. Will it be caffeine or convictions today? Convictions are statements which promote personal and professional confidence and well-being, leading to 22.9% more scientific breakthroughs in a given quarter. Interested? Between you and me, I've always felt the same. What good are words if they're not accompanied by action?
You know, you do a passable impression of a scientician. Did you grow up near one of our settlements? Have a few years of order training?
I'm quite sure I don't know what you mean.
Oh, I understand you may technically count as a member, but there's a perfunctory element to your articulation. You don't believe in the plan, and you're clearly up to something. She sized you up almost immediately, Commander. Been softly probing you for information. I clocked her the first moment she opened her mouth. Excellent question. I've been wondering the same thing. Well, do I have to shoot up the place? Or will you come clean immediately? Who do you work for, little mole?
By the architect, keep your voice down, please. Even if what you say is true, this isn't a conversation best had amidst present company. Let's talk somewhere more private. Behind the CAF integration point, perhaps?
Warning, the following song mentions some actions that are improper, something your fractions should never be.
Hello. Welcome to CAF Integration Point. I'm Junior Caffeine Celebrant Runch, and I'll be happy to assist you today. Oh, she's a real top-of-class type. Smart, but also patient. I struggle sometimes with my advanced courses, but Persephone's been tutoring me after work hours. I'm just glad she doesn't mind teaching the same lesson twice. Anyway, I'd hate to waste any more of your free study period with my idle thoughts. Anything else I can help with?
On a scale of 1 to 100, how pleased are you with the... with the garden in its current state? Try to capture your exact satisfaction to the nearest 10th integer.
100? Sir, that's the right answer, isn't it? I can show my math if you need. I'd really love to stay.
Determining the remainder of your stay in Laplace's garden is not the purpose of this survey, but your unprompted insecurity has been noted. Have an intellectually stimulating day.
I have many solutions, but none for your problems by the look of it.
You must be curious why I asked for such a discreet rendezvous. Allow me to whet your appetite for intrigue a little further, shall I? I have adequate reason to believe the Order is conducting a mass experiment on the population of Laplace's garden. The Order is not cultivating its perfect, plan-abiding society through careful ideological pruning, as the laureates would have you believe. It's simple pharmacology. Put bluntly, they're regulating the emotions of everyone in Laplace's garden through drugs in the water supply. Why would the Order want to create a society of undistractable little academics whose only desire is to advance the plan? I wonder. I'm limiting my water intake and using other pharmaceuticals to combat the effects. It's not a perfect system, but it works adequately enough. It makes the mind quieter, like closing the door on a screaming crowd. It's not unpleasant. It'd be a lot more difficult to conduct my survey of the garden from outside the garden. Moderate your volume, please! No one here is in any immediate peril. Probably. The Order claims the subjects here supposedly consented to participate, but it was begun prior to the schism with the Protectorate, so who's to say? Regardless, if the Order has made some kind of pharmaceutical breakthrough, imagine how useful it might be to certain parties to know about it in advance. I represent a group of information traders who would pay well to get their hands on a sample of this drug. Interested? So you've heard of us. Good. That makes this easier. My primary task has been to watch the Order. But I'm confident my superiors would agree. Physical proof is of far greater value than mere rumor. Nothing nefarious, if that's the needle in your conscience. We only mean to study the drug and consider all of its many applications. I know that must read as terribly vague to you, but I'm not at liberty to provide more detail than that. All you need to do is enter water reconditioning and collect a sample of the drug. I believe they call it perspective. This passcode will give you access to the main terminal. Watch the guards patrol before making your way into the facility. If worst comes to worst, I wager Laureate Beckett also has a keycard on him, but that might be tricky to lift. Lately, he's been sitting near the fountains, performing his silly little breathing exercises. If he's not there, then he's likely in conference with the presiding bishop. Whatever you do, be discreet. I can't have any laureates asking questions about me. Understood? It's too diluted by the time it enters circulation. I need the unfiltered drug, which is only accessible to those working in water reconditioning. Outside of work, I have, let's call it an alternative inventory. You'll have to pay, of course, but I'm sure I have something that'll make your job a little easier. And I'd like to offload some of this merchandise. Sounds like a win-win.
What a lamentable state of affairs!
As the early colonists eating its berries died.
I remember the days when Laplace's garden lived up to its estimable purpose. Now look at it. The fountain in disrepair, pedagogy in the park, even the lights above our heads have winked out like stars taken down from the sky.
Related testing by Auntie's Choice's unlettered scientists showed that the berries were not poisonous at all. Instead, they were
Imagine if your life depended on a surgeon who was practically perfect. Such a qualifier might dilute your confidence then, hmm? Nevertheless, one must persist. The plan is good. The shadow of ignorance cannot withstand its light.
After an infected berry is eaten,
We shall see.
scarlet eggs inside the berries are exposed.
Oh, I couldn't say. This isn't my college, as it were. I'm a vicar. I tend to people's philosophical needs and leave the management of the garden to others.
On the host directly, ingesting tissue and blood along the entire intestinal tract. These worms are
Oh,
eventually
no? What a tremendous disappointment. Perhaps in time you will acquire the necessary skills and return. Or someone else will come along, as is the way of things.
fertilized in this entire process. All cell contents contain undigested purpleberry seeds. The distribution of the plants is increased, helping infected purpleberry plants to spread farther.
A second makeup exam will not be offered, so I hope... So I hope you studied this time, Briar. You may begin now.
Right. No pressure.
After some additional casualties, plotting Auntie's choice field researchers
I can tell we have little crossover of interests.
Shh! If I'm caught talking during this makeup exam, oh, what does it matter? Can't mark the occipital from the parietal with these voided questions. And is there something wrong with the air recyclers? It's getting hard to breathe. You're mistaken. Panic isn't on the garden's list of approved cognitive states. I knew I should have hydrated better this morning. Can't believe my future in the Order will be decided by an understanding of the vaporescent properties of trinitrotoluenes. I don't even like bitrotoluenes. My vision's gone a bit fuzzy, but the exam's right here on the monitor. Have a look. I'm sure I'd recover my wits enough to tackle the rest of the test if you can just help me make sense of the first question. Just be discreet, won't you?
methods were tested and found effective, but they were all time-consuming and
Test your hypothesis elsewhere.
berries, so these methods were deemed non-cost-effective and rejected out of hand. Eventually, the answer was found not in a lab, but on some contained a reference to anisakid nematodes or salmon worms with an estimated 17%.
I've got your numeral. Keep moving.
If you need to discharge any sputum, I ask you kindly aim such accretions away from my general direction. Thank you. Oh, just passing time by calculating high probability diametrics within an error margin of 0.05. I'm waiting for the results of a rather exciting prediction, you see. Sometime last year, I predetermined an occasion of momentous import would happen today, right here, at these very coordinates. None taken. But now I've forgotten to introduce myself properly, haven't I? Leslie Beckett, Oracle Laureate, Seer Supreme, leader of the Department of Predictive Analysis, and not terribly good at informal introductions, evidently. Forgive me if I don't shake hands. I prefer to keep my skin microbiome free of exogenetic cells. You understand? But now, if I'm not mistaken, you must be the agent we've been expecting. I knew loitering at this location would yield results. I don't suppose you've stumbled upon any of our excogitation chapels around Cloister by chance? Excogitation chapels are order residencies where one can meditate in solitude on specific theorems relating to the plan. They're scattered all around Cloister. Prior to the war, such focused study led to all manner of breakthroughs, with audio logs routinely kept by the scientician in residence. In these unprecedented times, such logs could harbor hidden wisdom. However, with the war on, I've sadly been unable to get my hands on the last of these recordings. All confidential, I'm afraid. Many are still under peer review, but I can assure you, their value is commensurate with, the discovery of gravity, or has the potential to be. Oh no, I couldn't possibly ask you to endanger yourself by seeking out these logs. Cloister is rather treacherous, and some of the chapels are difficult to reach by design. However, if you happened upon these chapels and recovered these logs, I would most certainly be interested in their contents. By my reckoning, the amount of logs to be collected is 4. You have that? 4. No more, no less. Each chapel should have at least one somewhere inside. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Impossible, I'm afraid. The Protectorate is rather well entrenched at present, and nothing short of an all-out siege is likely to dislodge them. If you're determined, I recommend consulting with the presiding bishop on the matter. She can tell you more. How do you know about that? I mean, that is quite the allegation. I deny it effusively. First, answer me this. What is your interest in this matter? As much as I relish the idea of entrusting a stranger with sensitive and potentially incendiary information, I shall have to decline further comment. Perhaps if you were to help me out with recovering those logs I asked for, I could be more amenable to sharing knowledge, but let's put a pin in that for now, shall we? If there's nothing else, I would like to return to my deep breathing exercises. Don't we all? Nothing beyond what I already included in my 165-page summary of the incident. Why do you ask? Of course I do. That is precisely why my energy is better channeled toward the future, to ensure such tragic events never happen again. Landon Wiley was afflicted by that which strickens all scholars, the desire to effect change, to advance the plan at any cost. Were his methods wrong? Unequivocally. Should he have come to me with his concerns? Undeniably. But was his conclusion categorically sound? That remains debatable. Generally, yes. Although it's important to remember that unexpected outcomes can still arise from failed experiments. But let's move on to other topics, please. All this fractious talk is giving me a stomachache and... Oh, I just got rid of the last one. Oh, the garden is a marvel, isn't it? A prime example of how this colony could function if led by science and rationality instead of fear and oppression. Everything within the garden was meticulously selected by a committee of the Order's best archivists to provide for mental clarity and focus. My word, you should have seen the debates over the shrubbery. I've never witnessed such passionate discourse over foliage of all things. And what a history it is. The Order of the Ascendant, along with the Archive, has been headquartered on this moon since the founding of the colony. It was given to us by the matriarch herself. She understood how vital our contributions would be to Arcadian society, which some have forgotten. It is why we're here, in fact. Cloister has two things in abundance: ice and geothermal power. Both made it the ideal location for the archive, and we've utilized its vast computational power ever since. Who's to say it didn't? Do you think it mere coincidence the Order was ready to quit the Protectorate en masse the moment the invaders arrived? Seems statistically improbable. That's all I'll say.
That's one way to become the center of attention.
Welcome back, Agent. I trust Laplace's garden is treating you well? In what manner can I assist you?
Please keep your behavior within acceptable parameters.
Can't talk. Calculating an inverse complex sine function in my head.
And become allergic to water this year.
For pity's sake, is it the pump or the sealant?
Let's look at the interpretation of pure chance. If one flips a perfectly balanced coin, it will land on heads with a 1 in 2 chance, or tails with a 1 in 2 chance. Are there real...
Industrial science is mostly theory, they said. You won't have to put your knowledge into practice for years, they said. Now the fountain's broken and I can't... Useless. I'm useless. We had an avalanche recently, not far from the dome. One of these fountains stopped working around the same time. Stands to reason something must have been jostled loose. I recently placed into the industrial sciences, so I've been entrusted to fix the issue. But I've never had to put my knowledge into application before. It's not going well. No, of course. You must have business, and I ought to return to my efforts. Idle minds fail to endeavor, and all that.
The answer, of course, is no. Only with less than complete information are we reduced to chance. At present, we do not have based on us. Tragedy. A horror. A horror. All kinds will help us avoid. Every detail is collected, analyzed, put by our archivists, brings us closer to the solving of the universal. Yeah. Yes. Leads to inaccurate predictions, which lead to tragedy. We must
The Scientician Surplus. No more than what you need. Smart researchers patronize the Scientician Surplus. Quality goods at algorithmically determined prices.
Scientism from their admiring cohort in the Department of Research and Innovation.
Next up. Well, the seers among you already know.
Welcome to the Scientician Surplus. I am the scientician in question. Any inquiries about the stock may be directed to me. Either you intend to buy or you intend to go without. It would be unethical for me to interfere with your decision-making process. It's there in the name, surplus. Of course you would.
Say, I observed that.
Internal records classify you a figure of ill repute, and with a significant backlog of fines.
Allow me, child. I have a familiarity with order procedures. Such an unproductive misuse of time. I request we dispense with this matter in the interests of the equation and all who serve it.
But Yes, quite right. The equation must take precedence. All charges shall hereby be purged from you and your companion's permanent record to avoid further distraction.
Glad my decades wasted outwitting petty bureaucrats weren't utterly in vain. But let's not overplay that option. Strange to see all this vacant space after the overcrowding at Matriarch's Mercy. Plenty of room for refugees here. If only the Order administrants got their act together.
So the burden of truth is on our broad shoulders. Now, truth, there can be no path to ascension. Our grand plan is that path. Their paradigm leads to nowhere. And quickly.
Stay tuned for what follows. Best popular number.
How did your hypothesis about the flowers fare?
Exposing them to melodic sound waves on a consistent basis did affect improvements.
The plan is always in motion, so move
You
along.
controlled for the amount of carbon dioxide expelled from your mouth during these musical sequences?
More testing may be required.
You know, you strike me as someone with a very small body of published work.
Not in the mood for a random interaction, thank you.
Mind your truth table P's and Q's now. Unauthorized visitors are not authorized. Do I need to diagram that for you?
Every day treating the same strains and abrasions. My tenure for a multifactorial disorder. The operating theater is not conducting viewing dissections at this time. That is not an invitation to return to your study and perform exploratory surgery on yourself or a willing volunteer, just to be clear. Not as concerning as some of the scenes I have been called to in the middle of the night. I assure you, the warning is justified. But I trust you are here for a reason other than to discuss scalpel-happy novices. That is best answered through observation. Here, have a look.
I hope you have good news for me. I knew I had the right person for the job. You've saved me quite the headache. Your reward, as promised. Aw, wondering if you'll ever see me again? Precious. I'll remain in the garden a little while longer, but it would be best if we limited contact with one another. No offense. But who knows? The plan mystifies even the greatest minds. Perhaps our paths will intersect again someday.
Lift access is currently restricted. Keep moving.
Hey! Only security personnel are permitted in this booth. Leave. Please.
I have too much on my mind for idle numerical chit-chat.
Agent, over here.
Despite the fact that you should have learned that definition decades ago, while still in diapers. But no matter. I have been called many things, and repetitious is one of them.
Ah, there you are. I was informed by Gertie you've agreed to help us reconvene negotiations. With your aid, Auntie's Choice and the Order will soon be rivals no longer. Just think of all we can accomplish if our two sides reject fractiousness and combine our efforts. Remember, seek out ways to help both sides. Engender trust. Gertie and I will let you know when it's time to move forward. In the meantime, I might recommend you work on honing your oratory skills. Our presiding bishop and Auntie Cleo can be challenging to debate with.
You have a very non-scholarly look about you.
The presiding bishop is not accepting visitors at this time.
Please direct any inquiries to the Artificer Laureate.
A visitor? It's for the best that you're talking to me now instead of mid-work. I do seem to have a slight propensity for stabbing randomly with my tools when interrupted, but I suppose that's enough time spinning in the statements column. Speak away. What are you... Beckett. Another prediction that he hasn't seen fit to notify me about. A more cynical exemplar might posit his doing this to be intentional. If you're here, I imagine you aim to petition the presiding bishop for her support. Which is hardly a surprise. She is the most important individual in Arcadia. Not if I cannot gauge for certain if you can be trusted. I cannot allow just anyone to wander into Ruth's quarters. But there is something you could do to prove yourself worthy. A myriad of cultists have taken over the settlement of Newton, which is a nearby site of historical but not strategic significance. I want them gone. Once there was a bridge stretching from the settlement to the archive, but it was destroyed by a rift. Best keep your distance should you travel there. If the Order could predict the future infallibly, my mentors would be alive. Seers become less accurate the more specific and more distant the prediction. All that aside, you shall need the Order's trust if you wish to see Ruth. This task will allow that. Journey to Newton. Eliminate the cultists to a person. Then we may speak of getting you an audience with Ruth. Newton contains the Six Pillars Chantry, which was one of the first temples founded after Arcadia's colonization. It's over 100 years old. The cultists are likely profaning it. But even if they aren't, I don't want them there. Our loss of Newton is symbolic. If we cannot protect it, how can we protect Arcadia? I'll withhold my appreciation until this task is complete. May you act within the equation's confines.
Asa ought to know about this before we make a move. Otherwise, do me a favor and make sure I'm not in the vicinity when she hears of it.
Show your work or shove off.
I always find I work best when undistracted. One could say I find the cultist at Newton quite the interruption to my focus. Now, how might we be of use to one another? I scarcely take time to engage in idle conversation, but perhaps this will be illuminating in some fashion. Who told you about that? Were there an experiment being conducted here involving any kind of medicament? Confirming its existence would compromise it. The theoretical existence or non-existence of Order experiments are strictly within the Order's purview. It doesn't concern you. You are giving me cranial neuralgia. If you really want to bother someone about this, bother Beckett. Maybe he'll predict your arrival. Specifically, a phlogistinated firearm, capable of tunneling through reinforced armor. Broadly, weaponry, research, anything capable of giving our exemplars an edge. Great. I was just thinking, I'd love for a stranger to come along and patronize me so I could blindly hand them experimental order technology. I have nothing but respect for Ruth. Without her guidance, the Order may never have found the strength to dissolve its protectorate bonds. If I had to dig for the smallest critique, I'd note that she shoulders too much. If she collapses beneath the strain, the Order will be rudderless. This we cannot afford. I generally prefer to keep discussions relevant.
Outsider?
Well, I'll be hanged. At the pitter of footsteps at my door, I expected another Order ankle nipper, bent on furthering my disquietude. Philo Tresmer, Protectorate Wordsman at Arms. Mercenary, eh? Your demeanor speaks for itself. In a different life, we might have been enemies. But as far as I'm concerned, anyone here not a traitorous, thrice-damned scientist is a compatriot of mine. I'd say the same were I inclined to use the phrase academic miscellanea. I am not. You don't need book learning to teach wayward canids to heal. I am not just anyone. The duty of a liaison is of the utmost importance, requiring due diligence and delicacy. Though I suppose it a mite strange that this task fell to me, as I'd urge the vehement tanning of any wayward body bent on disrespecting the Protectorate. As of yet, that does not include the other Protectorate personnel I've encountered on Cloister, even though they seem loyal to the Consul above all else. The Consul is intended to supplement the Sovereign's rule, acting as a spy master and war coordinator. But of late, he has been overactive. The Consul is doing his duty, but I'm concerned that the people may begin to look to him for guidance instead of the Sovereign. I've heard rumors of late that a foolish minority has become skeptical of the Sovereign's leadership. Madness, I say. We must have faith. Hate is an inaccurate phrase. I find them arrogant and exasperating. Without the Protectorate, this little organization would have no holdings to squat in. I am here because the Sovereign has tasked me with bringing these wayward, pretentious toddlers back into the Protectorate fold. Unfortunately, my time here has taught me that only mass death has the power to change the local hearts and minds. Perhaps enough will be alive to save afterwards. Listen, you. The Protectorate does not do delegation. The Protectorate has a will that must be upheld. My presence here is a display of more faith than these fools deserve. Niceties are irrelevant, and likely detrimental to the task at hand. I am here to make the Order see the error of their ways. All other particulates are frivolous.
You know, I thought the abbot in Matriarch's Mercy was out of touch. But these folk are really giving him a run for his bits. It's weird here, ain't it?